What are the criteria for financing, credit scores needed, and so on. As much information as you can provide in an umbrella statement. Wow, that's a big one, Ashley. That's huge. Let me go to Ben first, and then I'll step in after Ben.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple for the sake of, because as John alluded to, it can get pretty complex and a lot of things won't make sense unless we can give you a visual aid. But as far as credit scores go, Greenstone generally requires a 680 minimum credit score. You have to have $1,000 residual monthly income, 40% debt to income ratio cap, and then 2 times your post-close liquid asset reserves. So those are the basics. That's what most of our customers fall into as far as an underwriting matrix. That's what we call our normal column, and those numbers I just listed there are for normal. If I could just simply explain, your debt to income ratio is simply your monthly income compared to your monthly debts. It's a simple division problem. And then your 2 times your post close liquid reserves. What that is, we will pull your credit. We'll also include the new mortgage payment you'll have for the construction loan. And so with all those things combined, including property tax and insurance, you'll have a total monthly obligation. Okay, that'll equate to a number. Let's say it's $2,000. You will need to have, after we've deducted your 20% down plus your closing costs, you'll have to have what's called post-close liquid reserves, and those are composed of your checking, savings, retirement, investment accounts. So once we've deducted the 20% down in closing costs, you need to have 2 times your total monthly obligations in post-close liquids. I know that gets very wordy, but that's the best way I can explain it in a nutshell.
So I'm going to try to clarify. I'm trying to look at it from our viewer standpoint, Ben.
Yeah.
Just to take some of the banker language out. So let's stay with that last one, the reserves. Are you talking about 2 times PITI, or are you talking about 2 times like all debt, like credit cards, car payments, and projected monthly payment for the house?
Yeah, so PITI and all debt. So, and then we categorize that as a total monthly obligation.
Okay. So guys, so viewers, I'm just going to give you some numbers, try to make it a little clearer, Ashley. So if, like Ben's saying, if your housing payment is projected with taxes and insurance, everything when you're done is $2,000. You got a car payment for $500, and then you've got maybe some Visa and MasterCards for another, let's say $500. So total everything is $3,000. Take $3,000 times 2. That's $6,000. After you go to your closing with down payment, your closing cost, everything you need for your closing, you also have to have $6,000 sitting somewhere, okay, that you can access. Can't be under your mattress, okay? Correct. Can't be, gold hiding in the backyard. It's got to be in a liquid checking savings,
verifiable statement.
Can you use 401ks, Ben?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. 401ks, 403bs. Okay. Your Edward Jones accounts, those IRAs, everything.
Okay. Perfect. Awesome. One more thing, $1,000 monthly residual. That's a big term for people. Can you clarify that just a little bit more, what that means for them?
Yeah. So you take your monthly income and then you subtract your monthly debts, and that's generally what your residual monthly income is. However, when you look at it from a financial institution and what we do on our side, there's some algorithm in the back scenes that takes into account for your general living expenses that will not appear as a debt on your credit bureau, such as gas, food, entertainment, things like that. Not necessarily entertainment. Let me back up, but gas and food, things that you need to be able to live, to be able to work. So we take that into account as well. So it's not as simple as I make $4,000 a month. I have $2,000 a month in debts. Is my RMI $2,000? Not with our calculation. It's a little bit more complex than that. And when we run the numbers, we can tell you what your RMI is, and if you meet that threshold of 1,000 minimum.
Perfect. Yeah. So guys, what I'd probably tell you is if you're talking to Ben or Greenstone, have him run those numbers, because that can get a little tricky and complex. So, yeah. I'm going to transition real quick so we can keep things moving on my side. I'm going to tell you that the guidelines that Ben put out for you, I'm going to be a little different. Like, I don't necessarily have a minimum credit scores till we get down in the low 6s. I've got a guy right now that we just approved at 640 this week. We do not have a residual basis to have to calculate. Reserves are dependent on kind of the loan structure itself. There are times when we don't require any reserves. If we start getting up into some of our jumbo programs where you're looking, let's say, at a $700,000-800,000 loan amount, we typically will request 6 months worth of reserves for that. And our debt to income ratio is, again, kind of flexible. We try to target 43%, but I have had people that we've closed on at 49.9. 50% is probably our hard stop. And even when you get over 43, depending on credit scores and the overall risk factor, that can kind of take things out. So the back end ratio 43%. We like to see some job history with things as far as qualifying, but overall, we got some flexibility. It kind of looks at some things from an overall perspective. Okay,
John, I did want to touch on as well that those numbers that I threw out, that's our normal column that most customers fall into.
Yep.
However, I don't want to discourage anybody from applying. If you have like a 665 credit score, we may be able to get you approved still. Nice. I just have to look at it because a credit score doesn't define you as a customer. And I don't want to discourage anybody from applying because we can go all the way up to a maximum 50% debt to income ratio as well. But all those other criterias, they get stricter as you go up, as well as the amortization term that we can do at Greenstone. It shrinks a little bit. Or if you want to keep the max amortization term, then you can't go as you have to put more money down, such as 35% down, which equates to, John, 65% loan to value. It makes it a lot more difficult.
Yeah. So guys, just again, banks a lot of times look at things from what they call layered risk. And that means that Ben could be looking at something. And so like I was saying, like, hey, with me, you're going to come out and look at your big picture. Ben will do the same thing for you. Like he's saying, well, 680, but maybe 665. Let's say you're coming in there and you had some medical collections and it just wasn't your fault and just stuff popped up and there it is, right? But you're putting 50% down and you've got, 20 years on the job and, great cash reserves. Ben's probably going to look at that loan and go, yeah, we want to help these folks. So don't, like he said, do not get discouraged from calling either one of us to talk about your situation. We want to guide you through it and, help kind of point you down the path. All right. So let's just talk about appraisals because I think appraisal is probably the part that drives lenders away from doing barndominiums and has put everybody in the spot where like, oh, it's so hard to get barndominium financing. Well, again, in my world, really, it's not.